Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Monday, and all of our guests today brought to you by our friends at Basant Motors. Ready to find your next vehicle? Visit Basant Motors today to experience the difference for yourself. The friendly team looks forward to helping you drive home in the perfect vehicle for your needs and budget. Getting to your destination starts with us. Learn more at Basant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. Just before we get to Brendan Batchelor, Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox, Rick and the Ridge. This just in, Demko has slipped in an elevator.
Yeah. It happens.
We have several submissions regarding your elevator story. No one has ever slipped in an elevator.
That's not true. You know where it happens? Las Vegas.
Yeah, but you wouldn't remember. Wouldn't remember.
No, it happens in Vegas all the time. All the time.
People are slipping all over the place.
You're coming in 2, 3 in the morning. You're not feeling, tipsy-turvy.
All about that. Voice of the Canucks on Sportsnet 650. Canucks in New Jersey tonight. He joins us now, Brendan Batchelor. Brendan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys? Good.
Lovely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, all indications point to Thatcher Demko starting tonight. First game since February 8th. Can you understand why some people who aren't necessarily medical experts don't think this is a smart move?
Well, yes, because you're right. None of us are medical experts. We always joke on our broadcasts that we're not doctors. We just play them on the radio. But, I can understand people saying 12 games left in the season. Their playoff odds took a big hit after losing to the Rangers the other night. Why don't you just let him rest and go into the summer? But conversely, this is a team that is still fighting for that playoff positioning. The moves or lack thereof they made prior to the deadline show that they are committed to trying to make the playoffs, and they're not out of it yet, as much as many people would like to tell you that they are. And we don't know the status of Thatcher Demko. I would imagine that if he's going to play tonight, he's at a spot where he's ready to play. I don't think this is a situation where they're rushing him back. He's been on the ice for a couple of weeks now. We've seen him at multiple Canuck practices. So, especially for a guy that's already gone through a situation where he's had injuries crop up and has missed a bunch of time this year, I can imagine that Thatcher Demko would be the last guy that would want to force this or rush this to get back into the crease. So if he does play tonight, I imagine that means he's good to go, and it's good timing for a Canucks team that really needs to make a push here as they've fallen behind in the Western Conference playoff race.
Outshooting the Rangers 39-12, losing a couple of important players to injury. J.T. Miller, salt in the wound, gets that empty netter, 1 goal, 1 assist. Was that as difficult, as frustrating a loss as the Canucks have had this season?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe put it up there with the loss on night 1 against the Flames, where they had the big lead and ended up losing it overtime. But because of the stakes in this game, because of the importance in the playoff matchup, and because of how well they played, especially through the first 40 minutes, that has to be an absolutely crushing loss for this group. I've seen some of the models going around on social media, like the chance of them winning that game based on the underlying numbers was something like 95%. And yet in the one game that you really needed the points, it goes against you. And, in spite of how much control of the game they had, it comes back to something that Rick Tocchet has talked about a lot this year, which is key moments in games and finding the way to turn those moments in your direction. And, you look back to the first period where they heavily outshot the Rangers and opportunities they had to extend the lead that they didn't make the most of. You let the Rangers hang around and ultimately gave them a chance to come back in the game, and that's what they did. So if nothing else, it can be a lesson learned for the Canucks that when you are outplaying a team that much, you do have that much pressure. You have to really have a ruthless mentality and take the most of your opportunities to try and build on a lead and really put them away in that game. And based on the way the Rangers played through the first 40 minutes, if you'd been able to build a lead, I don't know how much fight they would have had in them. But ultimately, they hung around. The Canucks let them hang around. And then you lose a couple of key players going to the third period. The Rangers turn up the pressure and ultimately find a way to get the win. And now you're sitting in a spot for the Canucks with 12 games left, where basically every single one of them is as close to must win as you can get. And that starts tonight against the Devils.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. If Pettersson is not playing tonight, and he's pretty banged up, your centermen tonight are going to be Suter, Bluger, Amon, and Ratu. That's not good. There's not a lot of playmaking centers there, Brendan. I mean, Heedle's hurt. Pettersson's hurt. Well, and can you imagine playing without your top 2-6 centers?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for them for sure, although they've faced plenty of adversity this year. But this does feel like a sort of a cruel twist in the tail here to lose Pettersson in particular, especially when his game was trending in the right direction and he was starting to produce again. And, I don't say this to discredit Pius Suter because I think he's had a tremendous year. He's a 20-goal guy now, but nobody drawing up a lineup card for the Canucks would have him as your number one center or Teddy Bluger as your number two center. And on and on beyond that. But that's the situation they find themselves in, assuming those guys can't play tonight. And Rick Tocchet will have to preach a next man up mentality for this group. But, certainly to lose that much offensive punch in Höglander and Pettersson, if they're both unable to play tonight, with how well that top line with Besser had been looking lately, it's another cruel turn in a season that has had all sorts of adversity for this team.
And speaking of Besser, last 3 games, he got another one against New York. I mean, this guy's been red hot. He's scoring big goals. He's been Mr. Clutch. That's got to continue starting tonight as well.
Yeah, it puts that much more pressure on the top guys that are in the lineup if Pettersson and Höglander can't play. So you're looking at Besser, who's been filling the net of late. You're looking at Jake DeBrusk, who's now tied with Besser for the team lead in goals. Those 2 guys are going to have to carry the mail for you offensively. And then you do legitimately look to Pius Suter as the next guy on that list with 20 goals. And obviously Quinn Hughes in terms of the offense he can create. And man, it kind of fell by the wayside as a storyline because the Canucks lost that game. But that was one of Hughes' best individual games of the season against the Rangers. So, he'll be motivated facing one of his brothers, not both of them, unfortunately, with Jack done for the year. But a big game for the Canucks against the Devils tonight, and we'll see if those guys play, first of all, in Pettersson and Höglander, and then what the Canucks can muster for offense if they don't end up being in the lineup.
Okay, we mentioned Ratu, at least Rick did, up from Abbotsford. He leads Abbotsford in points. Has played 21 NHL games this season. Brendan, are you seeing progress there? What about his development?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, I don't watch Abbotsford on a night-to-night basis, but for him to play a bigger role down there, to have some production, and now to get a chance to come back and play NHL games at a key time of the year is important for his development. And also, I would imagine he's going to be put out there in some key situations tonight because the Canucks are not a good face-off team, but Aatu Ratu is really good in the draws. And the one thing that he's been able to do is because he can take draws on both sides of the ice with the way he flips his stick, that's a key right shot face-off man, even though he is a left shot that can win draws on that side of the ice. So I think Ratu's somewhere up in the neighborhood of 56, 57%. In the faceoff circle this year. The only other Canuck forward or other Canuck full-time centerman above 50% is Teddy Bluger, and he's only just at like 50.5%, I believe. So not only is Ratu going to get to play, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have him on the ice for some key draws at key moments as well. So great experience. You know what? Regardless of what happens the rest of the way for this Canucks team, these games are huge for guys like Ratu, Elias Pettersson, Victor Mancini, Jonathan Leckерmacki. We'll see what happens with Tom Wielander if he gets to join this group to play in some crucial games that mean a lot to this organization at this time of the year.
Okay, and one more, Brendan, before we let you go. You, of course, used to do play-by-play for the Vancouver Giants. Just want to get your thoughts on the Penticton Vs leaving the BCHL to join the Western League and the what looks like a very real possibility of Chilliwack rejoining the Western Hockey League.
Yeah, well, I think it's great for the Western Hockey League to add a franchise like Penticton. They've been such a storied club in the BCHL, and this is part of all of sort of the reshuffling and the change that's going on in junior hockey right now with the NCAA eligibility rules changing and guys being able to play in the WHL but then go off to college. So all of these leagues are kind of having to find their new normal, and that applies to the WHL, and it's also going to apply to the BCHL going forward as a league that isn't officially tied in with Hockey Canada at the moment. And their sort of their path not being tied to Hockey Canada was looking to push guys on towards scholarships in NCAA. Well, now those very same players can still go play in the WHL and go play NCAA hockey. So it puts the BCHL in a tough spot. They have to figure out the future of their league. And I guess for the Penticton Vs, the future for them as an organization made the most sense to make the jump to the WHL. But we're going to see a lot of change in junior hockey in this province over the next few years. Of course, within Hockey Canada, there's a Junior A league coming out of former Junior B teams that they're figuring out how that's going to work. So the landscape of junior hockey is going to be completely different in a couple of years, and it's going to be interesting to see the shift and what it means for all the teams in all the leagues here. But for the Penticton Vs and the WHL, I think it makes a lot of sense, and it would be good to have a WHL team back in Chilliwack as well.
Yeah, you touched on it there, but PGHL making some changes as well. Brendan, thanks for this, my friend. Have a good call. You always do.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bet.